the rest. The other 3 games will be played on Sunday afternoon. But it's Bradford Bulls 0, Crusaders 13. Michael Witt with 2 tries, 2 goals and the drop goal. And there they are, they're out there. They think they are in with a chance of winning this match. And if you look at the scoreboard, why not? They've kept Bradford out throughout the course of that 40 minutes. And we might say, and we do say indeed, that it is the Michael Witt show, but how about Gareth Thomas? What about the catch out of the air, the kick to the corner, and then a great run and a wonderful sidestep? But what has Brett Carney and company got to offer in the second half? We'll see. Richard Silverwood's waiting for us. Let's have the second half. Terry and Brian and Rod Studd again.
Thanks, Eddie. As you, Steve-O and Phil were saying, Bradford early this season produced one of the biggest and best comebacks in Super League history when they came from 20-0 back to beat the Wigan Warriors at the Grattan Stadium. They need something of similar proportions here that day. They were inspired by 2-try Matt Arford. He hasn't scored a try since. It'd be a good time for him to get back on the try-scoring trail and lead his side to a comeback victory. What price that, gentlemen?
I will bet now, Rod, that them players, when they were stood in that circle, will be saying to each other, let's not pat ourselves on the back for that first 40 minutes. We've got another 40 minutes to go. And we're going to see a Bradford side that's going to come out, and Steve McNamara will want a reaction from his players.
Who's going to win this, Brad?
Well, you'd say Crusaders are in the box seat, but like I said in the first half, Bradford will have a say in this game. If you were coaching Crusaders, you try and tell them to be as clean as they possibly can. No cheap penalties. Force Bradford to play out of this area, and you'll sap them of energy quickly in this second half.
Like a politician there on the general election trail, almost answered the question there, Brian.
Keep politics out of this, Rod.
Good man. A long kick forward by the Bulls, but it's an old cliche, isn't it? But they need to be the next team to score in this match, because if the Crusaders can go 19-0 up, well, surely it will be game, set and match. They did everything pretty much right in the first period, Brian Noble's team. And, well, Brian Noble in the frame and certainly in the bookies list to be the next Bradford coach. Brian McDermott, the Harlequins boss, is the favourite. 2-1, but well, who knows what might happen at the end of the season when Steve McNamara leaves to take over England full-time.
And it's amazing that Hull KR last week, when they played against Bradford, they didn't make 1 break. In that first half, Crusaders made 8 breaks.
Here's Samet, very distinctive figure, making his debut, having flown into the country and only arrived yesterday, so who knows what the jet lag's going to be like. Mind you, I remember in the Tri-Nations a few years ago when Stacey Jones was playing brilliantly, going back from New Zealand and back again, as Samet follows up his own kick and makes an important tackle.
What he will bring, Rod, is he'll bring a second kicking game to this Crusaders team. He'll bring energy, but he'll bring a second kicking game, and he'll take some pressure off of Michael Witt and give this Bradford defence a little something extra to think about.
And a first penalty of the half. Richard Silverwood blows. This is not what the Crusaders want to be doing. Backed up by the referee's whistle.
Clever play by Carney. He could see that O'Hara wasn't squared at the plate of the ball.
Well, they've missed touch with the penalty. Well, that is just about one of the worst cardinal sins in Super League, to miss touch with a penalty. Steve McNamara will be going absolutely spare.
And when you're gifted field position like that, you've got to be clinical with the kick, not just take a sloppy swipe at it.
Yeah, what possibly the worst mistake you can make as a Super League player. Just hands possession and position to the Crusaders. He almost knocked it on, didn't he?
Ball's out here.
And Bradford get away with it. Bradford get away with it because Rhys Hanbury is knocked on. Well, the Crusaders had a real opportunity to make the Bulls pay for an error of their own, have just made a big mistake, a big blunder.
Well, they're very lucky here. You can see Hanbury loses that ball. Was there a grip from, was it Jason Crooks? He's definitely had a hold of that ball.
He's had his hand on the ball, but I think Hanbury's got a hold on to it as well. You know, it's interesting, you talk about not making touch on the kick, Rod, and it's something, there's a criticism in rugby league when people don't get big distances off penalty kicks when they're kicking for touch. But that's the reason. The risk in rugby league for not finding touch is so great, having to defend another set of 6, that people do err on the side of caution when they're kicking.
Absolutely. Better to get some distance than none at all, isn't it?
Well, you just don't want to be defending again after just getting a ball off, you know, getting a penalty awarded to you.
Well, they've had a result there and a contentious decision. The touch judge claimed that Hanbury had knocked on. Video evidence suggested there was a hand in there. It could have gone either way. It went Bradford's way. But on the positive, the Crusaders would have to be fairly happy if this second half turns out into a bitty, scrappy affair with lots of stoppages. They don't want the game to flow. They're quite happy for it to degenerate, really, and they can maintain their 13-0 advantage, given to them by all those points in the first half from Michael Witt. Bradford on the last then, inside Crusaders territory. Well, it's a kick forward from Halley.
There's a worry. That's David Halley. I mean,
well, that's a worry for the Crusaders, isn't it?
Well, they were looking for that man. They were looking for Matt Orford to kick the ball. He wasn't in position, so Halley took it upon himself to... Oh, and now he's made a mistake. He's offloaded the ball, and it's gone straight to Rhys Hambury.
Well, I think it was Sean McRae, wasn't it, who coined the phrase knock-on-a-thon. This is a mistake-a-thon in the second half so far, isn't it?
Well, that's right. Well, I worry where on the fifth tackle that Dave Halley's going into dummy half, looking for somebody to pass the ball, and he's forced to put in a kick. I wouldn't think he'd be recognised as one of their go-to kickers.
Coaching is a tough business, but when both teams are making these kind of mistakes, Noble and McNamara must be sat on the sidelines beating their fists in frustration that neither team is doing what they've been told to do in the half-time interval. And we saw pictures of Steve McNamara. He wasn't quite prodding his fingers in people's chests, but there was a lot of finger-wagging going on in that Bradford changing room at half-time. It was animated, and it was quite aggressive from the Bradford coach.
Well, the game is won and lost at the ruck. If you play the ball quicker than your opposition and you manage to... Oh, is this a penalty? No, it's play on. If you manage to play the ball quicker than your opposition, you go at a retreating defence, and both of these sides have got very good attacking hookers. There you can see, no, it was a 9.9 for the dive, says Richard Silverwood.
Well, Samet is possibly, I think he is, the lightest player now in Super League. He weighs in at just 12 stone. It was high, wasn't it? I think it had been a penalty in the NRL in Australia, where that has been completely cleaned out of the game totally by the referees and the disciplinary. Over here we appear to adhere to a different set of rules, but maybe a discussion at a later date.
Well, your 12-stone players just landed Andy Lynch on his rear end.
Last tackle for Bradford. They've created nothing so far in the second half. Sykes has kicked that so far long. That is the epitome, the dictionary definition of a nothing kick, and the Crusaders will get a 20-metre restart.
And I think that sums it up, doesn't it, there? Every time they get down, they get a chance. They haven't come up with anything near what this team is capable of on a last tackle play.
If you get anywhere down and make it a challenge, put the ball up so at least you can challenge for that ball.
Well, Steve-O made the point at half-time, didn't he, that Paul Sykes has not cut it at standoff today, with Carney playing fullback. Bradford have shuffled the fullback position around this season, with Halley's played there, Platt's played there, Carney's played there. It's been chopping and changing, and well, McNamara obviously feels this is his best option, but you'd want to see Carney nearer the ball and nearer the string pulling, wouldn't you?
I think so, and I'd love to see Dave Halley return the ball. I think he returns it very, very strongly. He charges. If you kick it straight down the throat, he's going to run it back hard at you.
But let's be fair, they beat Hull KR last week by 40 points to 4.
Yeah, they've had a terrific run. You can't fault their recent results, can you? Unbeaten in 6, 5 wins and a draw. It would have been 6 wins, wouldn't it, if Leeds hadn't come back from the dead at Headingley Carnegie over Easter to snatch a point against the Bulls. And they've scored 126 points in the last 3 weeks. And I know one of the matches was a cup game against Dewsbury, but nevertheless, it's a lot of points to put on the board. I can't really criticise their attack too much over the past few weeks, but today, not a point on the board for Bradford. Crusaders 13-0. Let's hear from Bill Arthur. Bill.
We've just wondered whether Heath Lestrange would come back out in the second half after that big knock he took in the first half. Was down for a while. Well, the word from the Bulls bench is that he is okay, although he's still sitting on the sidelines. He's wearing his tracksuit top, and as I speak, he's up on his feet for possibly a bit of a warm-up, but they do say that he is going to be coming back. Meanwhile, for the Crusaders, I think there's a problem for Nick Youngquist. He's moving very gingerly on this Crusaders left wing. He took a knock a while ago and doesn't look comfortable out there.
Yeah, we can see him on the near side, Bill. Yeah, good spot. Youngquist is limping very gingerly. Bradford from another penalty. And Bradford have had the most luck with injuries this season amongst all the Super League clubs. Steve McNamara has only used 20 players in total. He's got 9 guys who've played every game in Super League and 4 that have missed only 1. So they've had a lot of luck with injuries this year, Bradford. It'll strike them at some point. It strikes all the clubs. So they've got to make the most while their players are fit and healthy. Let's see what they can do from this attacking situation as Godwin goes into a dummy half. Orford, orchestrator of that comeback we mentioned against Wigan earlier on in the season, hasn't managed to get them back on the board in this second half. They're on the last here as Warrensey goes to ground. Carney arrives on the scene. Orford is looking for his partner in crime. It's kicked towards him. To be honest with you, I really thought that there was a possibility of an offside there against Craig Kopchak. He seemed to be in front of the ball, but referee says no, and referee says goal line dropout.
Well, big Craig Kopchak, he called for this. Is it Adam Peake? He grounds the ball over the line. But the pressure by Carney and Kopchak forces that error from Peake. He gathers it, and then all of a sudden, as he loses it, he grounds that ball. Now it's the drop out from under the sticks from this Crusaders side.
Well, Kopchak clearly wasn't in front of the ball, at least according to Richard Silverwood, and in the end, Peake, as you said, Terry grounded the ball in goal. It is a goal line dropout, Bradford's first that they forced today. This is what they need to do, though, is get the pressure cranked up on the Crusaders' defence.
That's it. Well, now what can they do with this extra opportunity to attack the Crusaders' line?
Yeah, 13 points.
No, it's
not a huge lead, is it?
Not for this team. Not for this team. Please, like Terry pointed out, they smashed Hull KR last week. They can do it.
Yeah, it depends on the conditions, doesn't it? This is, I mean, on a horrible boggy day at the Grattan Stadium in February, 13 points would be a huge lead, but today the conditions are good, and there's no reason that Bradford won't fancy themselves to score 3 times.
Rod, I'm sure Steve McNamara and Matt Orford will be saying, know what your job is, where are you on the pitch, I know exactly what you've got to do. That, again, is sloppy from Bradford.
Yeah, mishmash and a mix-up. Carney coming into the line, now Sykes, long ball, could have been picked off by Jared Samet, could have been picked off by the new boy in the Crusaders ranks, and he would have been on a one-way ticket to the try line there had he collected that and snaffled it in.
They're not creating any go forward whatsoever. They're not playing off the back of any quick play of the balls. It's easy for this Crusaders side. Samet's just come off the line. He thought that the interception was on.
Matt.
Arrived from Penrith on a 2.5-year deal, and well, he read that absolutely perfectly, and had he collected it, I don't think they'd have caught it.
Going back to Bradford's attack breaking down with the previous, far be it from me to criticise a player of Matt Orford's calibre, but I think he's generally regarded as being a far better halfback when he either runs the ball or plays it short, grabbing it cross field. That's when he's at his very best. When he tries to bring out the long passing game, I'm not sure it works as well for him. Again, I'll be in deference to a player of Matt Orford's standard.
But to be fair to Matt Orford, he needs his forwards going forward, and he needs to play off the back of that.
He won the Dally M Award in 2008, didn't he, as the best player in the NRL, which pretty much makes him the best player in the world in 2008. So he really has to stand up here and direct Bradford and dictate terms here. Bradford are looking to him, aren't they? Or maybe the other 12 are all looking at Orford and saying, you know, get us out of trouble, and aren't doing their job effectively.
Well, if they are, and I don't know if they are, Rob, but if they are, that's a poor way to play the game, and I think Bradford are better than that.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? A team that's won so many trophies, and back in the year 2000 they won the Challenge Cup here when they beat Leeds. Man, that's a long time ago, a decade in rugby league, and now they've conceded another penalty. They cannot afford to do that. The whistle blows the Crusaders. Well, that sound of the whistle will be like music to their ears, because it just runs down the clock and gives them possession and position.
Well, it was just a grapple tackle from Crooks on Youngquest. Slammed his head into the ground.
Youngquest trying to run off this injury that Bill was talking about earlier. He's playing for Gateshead this time last year. It doesn't look the best at the moment, though, Nick Youngquest. He's hobbling around, and I'm sure Brian Noble, John Sharp and the rest of the coaching staff are monitoring that situation. But here come the Welshmen once more. In fact, there's only 3 players from the UK in there, 17 today, in fairness. Here's Withers, and Witt, the architect-in-chief of all their good work today. Chan forcing his way towards the try line. If they score again here, you'd have to say it's very long odds against Bradford getting back into this game, because 3 scores is going to be too much for Bradford. Ryan O'Hara, the captain of the Crusaders, to within, what, 5 metres of the try line. Well, again, they're giving them far too much space and room to pick their plays here, Bradford. The ball's gone loose. 6 more, says referee Richard Silverwood. That could be a huge call.
But the Bradford players just stood and watched that ball. They didn't pounce on it. There was no urgency.
Again, it's Witt with ball in hand. Score again, they'll go 19 in front. That would force Bradford to score at least 4 times to win this match. That's a big ask.
How tough is this Bradford team?
Well, this is a big question being asked of Bradford. How badly do they want to defend their own line here? They know if they concede, the game is virtually finished. They have to hold on here, Bradford. They cannot concede another try from this situation. Crusaders looking for possibly the killer try, the killer punch. Still a couple of tackles left in this sequence. Withers goes to dummy half. It'll surely go to this left-hand side. Hambry spots a gap. He offloads. Again, it's Wild. Youngquest reacts really quickly to that situation. With an injured leg, he did well to pounce on that loose pass. Back to Withers. Well, he lets it go through his fingertips again. Crusaders making an awful hash of this final tackle option. In the end, it's just stabbed forward. It's knocked on. It's hacked dead. It'll be a dropout, I think. Oh, no, the referee goes to the original knock-on. The Crusaders will get a 10-metre scrum.
Lucky. Well, Bradford were very lucky. The mistake from Carney. Crooks just kicks it out.
And almost answered our question. We're doing very, very well in defending that set. You got to defend it until you get the ball back.
Yeah, it was because the play became so badly broken for the Crusaders, didn't it? They were expecting it to go to Witt, but in the end, Tchaikovsky got hold of it and just put a strange-looking, bobbly little kick in, and it almost came up the trumps.
And you could see going into that pack, if you look at the Bradford forwards, they're breathing really heavy. They've been defending their own line. They're going into numbers. They're trying to put down this Crusaders side.
Samet feeds the scrum. He finds Michael Witt. Crusaders setting up once more for another sequence, and there's a few missed tackles here. Play on, says Richard Silverwood, quite rightly so as well, as the tackle was not completed. The player was not held. Tchaikovsky it was again. Samet stepping inside, looking for a debut try. Problems for the Bradford Bulls. Already 13 points adrift. It could be more here. They have got to hang on here. This could be the game, even though we're 27 minutes out from the final siren in this match. Again, it's Samet. Again, it's an offload from Samet. Again, it's a chance for Hambray. The whistle goes. It'll be a high shot.
Matt Orford is in a bit of trouble here.
Yes, he is.
He's flung himself at the Crusaders here to stop this. Matt Orford has absolutely flung himself, and he's in a bit of pain.
Well, anytime...
Watch Matt Orford come out, bang.
Yeah, anytime you see something like that as a Bradford fan or the Bradford coach, you're thinking not only this game, Brian, aren't you? You're thinking, what damage has he done there? What could happen? How bad could the problem be?
Well, that's right. Well, I mean, I think the players immediately will be just thinking about this game. They don't want to see their main playmaker down on the field, but he's a tough character. If there's any chance of him continue, you can be sure he'll be popped straight back up onto those short legs and get ready to go again. He is, like you say, one of the best halfbacks in the world.
Well, that is a signal that's universally known throughout the sporting world as he cannot continue. And that could not only be this game going west as far as Bradford are concerned, but who knows what the significance of this injury could be for Bradford's season. We're only speculating at this stage, but if Orford is badly hurt, that is a real problem.
He's gone in really strong on Winstein, just bounces straight off.
Well, it wasn't a penalty, it was just a stopping of the play by Richard Silverwood because of the injury to Orford.
Orford's still in the line.
He's still out there, Brian, you're absolutely spot on. The Crusaders pressing. Still tackles in the bank here for the Crusaders, the men from the racecourse ground in Wrexham. Orford is still out there.
He's got no left arm. Well, he's got a left arm, but he can't use it.
Yes, it hasn't been amputated as an emergency measure, Brian. It's still, but I know what you mean. He can only tackle with his right arm, which
it would have been a great physio if he could have done that.
They'll be calling him Admiral Nelson next. Here come the Crusaders. Oh, Samet slipped and he can't keep hold of the ball. It goes loose. It's a knock-on. Bradford survive, but Orford drops to his knees again.
They'll make the substitution now.
I wonder, was that the Crusaders rushing to get at Matt Orford?
Yes, I think you're right, Brian.
You know,
it was, yeah.
You get blinded a bit by things sometimes. People are saying, here, he's in front of me, get me the ball. Orford's here.
Well, he's going to be there in a minute, and there being the sideline. Well, again, we've mentioned this too brave for their own good situation. I mean,
it can't come off at a scrum. As soon as this scrum is played and it's gone off, the substitution will be made.
Yeah. I mean, the bloke, he'll struggle to feed this scrum.
Well, surely he can come off whenever he likes, can't he?
No, this scrum now, he'll come off. It's Lestrange and Donaldson that's going back on.
Well, the penalty's been given.
Bradford needed this. Bradford really do need this.
Now, what about the reorganisation here? They've lost their main man, their string puller, their orchestrator. What do they do now? Do they put Carney in there? Do they put Sykes in there? What do they do?
Well, you're going to have something like Sykes is going to have to step up. I mean, I don't think he's a natural organiser in the game. I mean, he's a big loss. He's a massive loss, Orford. And if Wayne Godwin's been pulled off the field as well.
Well, last Friday I was at the DW Stadium in Wigan, where I saw one of the most remarkable fight-backs I think I've ever seen in any sport, when the Harlequins came from 18 back to beat the Wigan Warriors. This would be as remarkable if Bradford can pull it off from here.
Well, yes, but they might just have to simplify their play. This is it, short plays, get some dummy half runs in there, punch in close to the ruck, and rely on a good kick from Paul Sykes towards the end of the tackle.
And that's exactly what they've done the first 10 minutes when they made 2 breaks down the left-hand side.
But what can they create without Orford? I tell you what, they can create something here. Here's half a chance being made by Lestrange, who's performed miracles to come back onto the field after suffering a real bang to the head in the opening minutes of this match. Menzies is another big name player who needs to produce in these final 24 minutes or so. Last tackle for Bradford then. It's Sykes who'll kick. That's a better one, or is it just going to be too deep? It's too deep, as one of the Bradford players was blocked off, or he felt he was blocked off, but Thomas just gathered that in comfortably.
Was it Vince Mellors who escorted the Bradford player off the ball?
Yeah, I think
Here it is.
Hold, lads. Hold.
Yeah, Chris Nero felt he was impeded. Richard Silverwood wasn't interested.
And Chris Nero, the player penalised for a similar offence in the first half.
Go.
With the loss of Orford, Rod, what it will do is, I think, if they have been looking around for Orford to do stuff, they'll soon realise now that that's not going to happen.
And somebody else has got to stand up, haven't they, Brian?
Well, I think they all have to, Terry, if they're going to get back into this game.
Well, Carney is still at full back. And he'll collect this kick here as the Crusaders will play, I would feel now, a pretty conservative game plan. They'll just run out sets of 6 and keep putting Bradford back on their try line. They know Bradford has got to score at least 3 times. They know they're missing their star turn. They'll feel pretty good about themselves, the Crusaders. They just need to make sure they don't get too far ahead of themselves.
I'm sure Brian Noble was saying, don't disrespect the opposition. There's still plenty of class in this Bradford side. Heath Lestrange pointing. You can see the side is starting to be a bit rattled. The speed of the line from Crusaders. Again, a lot of pointing with Lincoln Withers.
Easier trap to fall into, though, Terry, isn't it, to think that they've already got the job done with Orford going off.
I would be a fan of protecting a lead from here. 22 minutes to go. I don't think Crusaders will play to protect the lead.
Gone 10, he's gone 10.
You play exactly the same as what got you into this position in the first place. Don't change anything.
Little chip ahead. Carney's onto this for Bradford. Now, what are the options here? There's absolutely nobody with him at all. No support at all from Carney. He kicks in goal. Well, they've got a result out of it.
That was very, very lucky. That was very lucky. You could see that Carney, he pounced on that ball. There's nobody in support. Everybody's staying back. Good play by Carney. He's looking up. Who's with him on the left-hand side? Nobody whatsoever.
Well, they're going to check the restart here. Gareth Thomas should have run this dead in goal. He should have gone in goal. Now, he takes the flag out. Video referee is Stuart Cummings. And he'll give the judgment to Mr. Silverwood. It is a drop-out.
Under the sticks, it'll be.
He took the flag out, didn't he, before he got into touch?
But this has summed up Bradford for me today. Players waiting back for the next plays. Players waiting back to see who's going to do something. Who's going to come up with that big play that's going to get us in front on the scoreboard.
Yeah, he took the corner flag out, so that's why it's a goal line drop and it's touching goal. But just going back to your point, Terry, yeah, I mean, when the break was made, you would expect to have seen half a dozen white shirts flooding through in support saying, give it to me, I'll score the try here. But there was nobody.
Well, look at Crusaders. Every time they go forward, they've got support inside and out.
Well, I would be extremely worried if I was Steve McNamara sat watching that there just wasn't either the energy or the willingness to support Brett Carney, who scythed through the defence. That really ought to have been Bradford on the board for the first time. They've gone nearly an hour now without putting any points on. This is the side that scored more than 40 last weekend and haven't looked like scoring today. Lestrange, Sykes stepping inside but running into a wall of red shirts.
Well, probably not giving Crusaders credit for the defenders that they pull back into the play as well. That's something worth considering.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Huddersfield nil 3 teams this season. Remarkable Super League record. It is a Super League record to do that 3 times in the season. Crusaders looking to get the first clean sheet. And that will be a wonderful achievement. But here come Bradford. Knock on. Another handling error. Bang in front of the Crusaders' sticks. High fives, applause all round from the men in red.
And Sykes just not anticipating that offload from Heath Lestrange. There's not so much movement from Bradford this afternoon.
Both sides, we need to cut the penalties out, okay? Both sides.
The hour will shortly be upon us in this game, and Bradford have got 20 minutes to save this game and save their 6-match unbeaten run. They started the game in 5th place. The Crusaders started it down in 11th, but the Crusaders will be up to 10 points if they win this game and breathing down the necks of champions Leeds.
They were only 4 points off the top 8 going into this game. So if they can get the 2 points, that'll give a massive lift to Brian Noble and his Crusaders side.
Well, this could be the lowest scoring game in the history of the Magic Weekend as well. The lowest to date back in 2007, the Hull Derby, Hull 10, Hull KR 14, so 24 points there. We've only got 13 on the board so far, and with 20 minutes left, you'd have to say probably odds on that we see the lowest scoring game in the history of the Magic Weekend, as Bradford are pinned right back on their line again.
And there's still Bradford players trotting back 20 yards from this play of the ball. Still trying to retreat, get behind the ball. It's a tough job being a Bradford forward in today's game.
Well, they look like they'd turned the corner, Bradford. They'd made an in-and-out start to the season, but in the last few weeks, they'd started to look quite impressive, hadn't they, with that good win you've mentioned against Hull KR, Terry. And that draw at Leeds, it started to look something like, but this is definitely a couple of steps back as far as the Bulls are concerned.
They look absolutely sapped of energy.
You know, they've got a player out in that field who's got the ball in his hands now, and
You just
put the markers on him.
No, he's produced one of the best kicks in the history of Super League, Brian. He got it on its end to bounce back to Ricky Sharif, Steve Menzies there. It may pay huge dividends. Thomas is going around in circles. He's got his whereabouts and his bearings and knocked on.
He's lost the ball.
Well, what on earth? How on earth did that happen?
Stop and let me go back to my point,
I said
please.
that was going to be a great play by Steve Menzies. You can pick up on it now, Brian.
You've got a player out on that field there that has all the experience in the world. He's a man that can step up for this Bradford team. They've got a lucky result off 2 kicks here. Gareth Thomas being deemed to have knocked the ball on here and regathering. Now this is a wonderful opportunity for this Bradford team.
Well, we'll let you speak to Steve Menzies afterwards, Brian, and ask just how he managed to get that ball to bounce backwards 10 yards on its end.
Practice.
But I tell you what, on a serious note, this is a vital passage of play, a vital scrum here, isn't it? Let's watch Menzies kick. This then bounces backwards over, well, about 8 yards, straight to Sharif, and they got the benefit from it when Thomas knocked on in amongst all the confusion.
And that was a set play as well. That was a set play by Menzies.
Menzies. And Bradford looking to Menzies now to create something. They don't necessarily have to score here. Well, they're not going to score here, are they? It's another dreadful knock-on from Kopchak. Well, simple, basic errors. And we're witnessing the unravelling of the Bradford Bulls out there in the moment. That everything is falling apart. Everything that can go wrong is going wrong for Bradford.
It is and it isn't. You see that kick, they get some breaks in this game as well. And they've had some opportunities
but they
down
just
here.
haven't taken advantage of the breaks they've had, have they?
They haven't. You're right. I agree. They haven't taken... You can't say the whole thing has gone against them in this game. It's not like they've been whistled off the field and that they've dropped absolutely every single ball. They've had some lucky breaks. They haven't been able to capitalise on them.
Yeah, well, Bill Arthur will be talking to Brian Noble and Steve McNamara afterwards, and, well, Steve McNamara is going to have to be very diplomatic with what he says about his team's performance out there tonight.
Good defence.
Haven't seen a point in the second half so far. Celtic Crusaders more than happy with that. Jamie Thackeray. Holland leads forward, taking the ball forward a couple of vital, crucial yards. I don't think we'll see too much that's flashy here for the Crusaders. This is a little bit expansive, though, inside their own 20-metre line, sorry.
That's what they've had all game, a lot of movement with the ball.
With us. Just look to get to the end of the sequence of 6, and they are there now, and Richard Silverwood says this is the last 40 metres from their own line. That's pretty good, well, good enough. They'll get it back here into Michael Witt's hands, but he's under a lot of pressure there.
Good pressure.
Craig Kopchak, yeah, making amends for the error that he just made at the other end, yeah, and it could be a crucial piece of pressure on the kicker.
But a better defensive set by this Bradford side. Only 26 metres that Crusaders managed to make going forward then.
Running out of time, though, aren't they, Terry? To be honest, there's 17 minutes left. They've got to score 3 times. They haven't scored any in the first 63 minutes. Can they possibly score 3 tries in the final 17? And Carney trying to do something about it.
The run like that from Scruton, mate, big inroads into the opposition. Play off the back of it.
Well, Carney's down hurt now as well. That's all they need, having already lost Matt Orford. That was a potential defence-splitting pass from Paul Sykes, which was knocked on by young Elliot Whitehead. He was through the gap there. Had he held on to that, it's a great ball by Sykes, a great line from Whitehead. He couldn't hold on to the ball.
He's done everything right. He's got outside of Mellors. The pass from Sykes.
Well, there's a lot of young guys in this Bradford side, a lot of young English guys too. Whitehead just 20, James Donaldson, who started alongside him in the second row, just 18 as well. Let's get the crucial news about the injury to Matt Orford from Bill Arthur. Bill, what news?
It's not getting any better for the Bulls because the verdict is that Matt Orford is highly unlikely to come back on. He's just emerged from the dressing room with the club doctor after an examination. Now, the fear was that it'd be a dislocated shoulder. It's not that, but it is a badly bruised shoulder, and he's sitting on the sidelines, the shoulder heavily iced. And as they say, he's not very likely to go back on. But so the good news, if there is any good news that can be taken from this situation, is that it's not likely to be a long-term problem.
Yeah, well, he's back on the bench, isn't he? And that's the key thing. Had he been disappearing down to hospital for a scan, it would be a different problem. And they do have a break from Super League next week, where they play Lee in the Challenge Cup, and there may have been a possibility that Steve McNamara would like to rotate his squad for that game anyway. But so they do have a little bit of a break to get Orford fit for the next Super League match. Crusaders Also in cup action next weekend against the Catalan Dragons, but let's see what they can produce here. Are they about to get their first win at Magic Weekend? The Celtic Crusaders last year were beaten comfortably by Huddersfield. Are they going to get their 5th win of Super League 15? It looks long odds on at the moment as Samet kicks high. It's a spiralling bomb. It's brilliantly collected. It's brilliantly collected by Brett Carney, who really has come to the party since Matt Orford's left the field, to be fair. He has stood up there and tried to get his side out of this hole.
Showed fantastic composure, just focused straight on that ball.
Somebody's going to have to play the ball quick for this Bradford team. Somebody's going to have to find their front. Get up, play it quick.
You'd have to say, though, Brian, wouldn't you, that the Celtic Crusaders are going to have to make some pretty big mistakes, because as long as they can keep running out sets of 6 and kicking Bradford back to within 20 metres of their own line, can Bradford possibly come from deep 3 times?
No, you wouldn't think so on the evidence so far.
So they're going to be reliant on penalties or mistakes by the Crusaders, aren't they, surely? And the Crusaders keep their nose clean here. They'll pick up the 2 competition points.
Well, you might get penalties. You start playing this ball quicker, Rod, and you'll see how many penalties come.
Let's see what happens from Sykes' kick towards Ricky Sharif, the man in form with 5 tries in 2 games. He'll do well to get out that tackle. He can't. It's the turnover.
And also, there's only one team that's got to go on from this position now and win this game. Crusaders are in front. They don't have to do anything else. Bradford are the ones who are chasing. They're the ones at 15 minutes to go. They've got to start forcing that pass.
Brian Noble's a wily old fox, isn't he? He's been around for many years. 5 grand finals, 3 of which he won.
And I'm sure all Brian Noble will be saying now is just complete your set to 6 and get to the kick.
Wigan, of course, dispensed with his services at the end of last year and topped the table under Michael Maguire. It'd be interesting to see how this season pans out. Anyone would want to be judged at the end of a season, but at the moment, Brian Noble is working wonders at the Celtic Crusaders. This would be their 5th win, and you'd have got long odds against that at the start of the season. I don't think many people would have thought they'd have got 5 wins in the whole season, to be quite honest with you, but they've picked up 5, or would have done, in 13 games. A little kick ahead from Hanbury while it bounces all over the place and is collected by Bradford in the end, but oh, now that's going to be a penalty, isn't it? That is a penalty. Yep. That's the mistake you were talking about, Brian. Now they will be put under pressure here because Bradford will start up here, maybe 20-30 metres from the line.
Absolutely, it's what they need, but I don't know if they're good enough today to do anything with this ball. That's the problem. They've had the possession. They're in a good position now, attacking on the 40. What can they come up with?
Yeah, conservative kick to touch, bearing in mind they did miss touch from a penalty, Paul Sykes, earlier in the match, and didn't want to bite off more than he can chew there, so they start out further from the line than maybe they ought to have done. 13 minutes left. Lestrange in dummy half. He took that bad knock early on, but he's still out there. It's a loose pass. Could be picked up by anybody. Bradford do get hold of it. Crooks gets hold of it in the end.
How many times has the pass gone to ground in this second half?
4. Play on.
Play on is the call.
Has he bounced this?
Has he bounced that?
Well, Richard Silverwood wasn't in a position to see, quite understandably. Has that ball been grounded correctly? Is it a try? Are Bradford back in business?
Well, it was a one-on-one steal, so that's play on.
It squirmed out the tackle. Mellors was the man who had it. He pulled it out. It will be play on, surely, as Brett Carney picks up the football. And now with...
Does he ground this ball?
With room running out, as he goes into touch. Yeah. Did he get the ball down?
Yes, he
Was
did.
there contact between hand, ball and ground simultaneously? Well, you're a brave man calling that, Brett
Yes,
Carney.
he did.
Stuart Cummings is the video ref.
From this angle.
I'm doing the Steve-O. It's down. Right.
See, his fingers go behind the ball there. Here you go. No,
I'm telling you.
I disagree with you, Brian.
I'm telling you, Steve-O is rarely wrong on this.
Well, the trouble is when you slow it down, it always looks like the ball's been lost, doesn't it, really? I mean, you can slow it down, and it does make it awkward. What does Stuart Cummings, the video ref, say in this very, very tricky decision? No try, 20-metre restart, and with that press of the button from Stuart Cummings, have Bradford's chances disappeared?
I didn't want to say it. I told you so, Brian.
That's it. They've had opportunities. That's the thing that's going to sum up Bradford's day.
Well,
That's I mean, it would have made for an interesting last 13 or so minutes had he grounded that and had the kick gone over, but not to be. And I think Crusaders now are just going to close this game out.
Well, Brett Carney has scored 5 tries in his last 3 games, but I've got to say he didn't finish that like a natural try scorer, a natural winger. You know, he didn't get low, he didn't get down underneath it, but I mean, he scored a lot of tries this season. He scored 7 and 2 in the cup as well, but didn't look like a natural finisher.
That looked like an effort from somebody or a team which are chasing the game.
And it's probably their last chance. Richard Silverwood blows the whistle. It's a high tackle, it's a penalty.
It's Glenn Hall.
It is Glenn Hall.
He's given the penalty away again for the grapple tackle. He goes up round Mark Bryant's head, trying to use it as a lever to get him to ground.
Well, they have had their chances, haven't they? They've had the bounce of the ball, they've had the breaks, just as they had then when it got pulled out of the tackle by Mellors, and Bradford have had chances to score, and each and every time they've had an opportunity, they've spurned it, and they really have only themselves to blame for what's happened out there this afternoon.
Watching this next set of 6, how many Crusaders players stay in the frame? And what I mean by that is how many players are in support, supporting the ball carrier. Even in defence, how many players are in the frame? They're working as a unit.
Yeah, everyone wants the ball when you're 13-0 up, Terry, don't they? Everyone wants a piece of the action now. They know if they score again, the game's finished. In essence, really, they've got it in their pocket anyway, but they all fancied out there, the men in red. Witt was involved again. He really has been the star turn. This could be well, had it come out to the left-hand side, Hambry and Youngquist were waiting. It's been knocked on. Haraki was the culprit.
Well, let's be fair to Crusaders. I think from the opening, after the opening first 5 minutes, they've all wanted the ball.
Let's bring it back here. Bring it back
2 knock-ons, wasn't it? 2 knock-ons, one either way, so Bradford will get the scrum down. But they're a long, long way from where they want to be. They're 89 metres away from the Crusaders' try line. They're 13 points away from the Crusaders on the scoreboard. And this is going to be the first big upset of the weekend. Who knows if it'll be the last? There's some big favourites today. Warrington against Salford. Leeds against Wakefield. Hull start favourite against Harlequins. That's our next game coming up next. Hull against the Harlequins.
Oh, lads, go.
Stay with us here on Sky Sports for all the action from Murrayfield, and 3 games to follow tomorrow.
2, move, hold, go.
Well, Bradford are going to have to take chances here, aren't they? They're going to have to start spreading the ball around. They're going to have to throw some speculators out here. Warrancy drives it down the middle.
Move.
They're going to need more than that now, aren't they? They're lapping it up, aren't they? They've made the trip down from Wrexham. Enjoying the action. Who can blame them? 2 tackles left then here for Bradford as we move into the final 10 minutes, or we'll do in about 15 seconds time. Lynch offloads, it's a wild one, picked up by Carney. He's being pursued. He's knocked down, although he gets the ball away to Chris Nero. The dancing feet of Nero get away from a couple of challenges. Is anyone there though? Dave Halley comes in support, but too late. And the final tackle is called by Richard Silverwood. Well, Carney has done plenty to try and drag his team back into it, but so far hasn't been able to do so.
A lot of the players have from this Bradford side, but at the end of the day, this Crusaders side have been very professional in 70 minutes of rugby. Can they finish the game off with a big 10 minutes?
2, move.
Had some big wins already. They had a big win over Hull in the season, but this I would think would be the one that's the real feather in their cap, knocking off a Bradford team that hasn't lost in 6 games.
Yeah, and the Bradford team coming off a great win last weekend. Brian Noble up against his former team. I think this will be a special win. And like I say, so far in this game, I know we've got about 9 minutes left, but the fact that they've kept Bradford scoreless is what will give Brian Noble, I think, the most pleasure.
Yeah, this will be his 6th win over Bradford since leaving for pastures new at Wigan in 2006. In 9 attempts, that's a pretty fair record. Knock on here from Salmon. Oh, no, it's not. Brilliant hands. He managed to juggle and then collect and then kick ahead. This will be a sensational try. It is a sensational try. Jared Salmon. Well, they'll call him Jared the juggler after that. He's won the game for the Crusaders with a sublime piece of skill on his debut.
Well, he must have flown over business class. If he's only landed on Wednesday and produced that, they've had him in the best seat on the plane. That's a tremendous, a ball out the back, he's collected an offload, little chip, regather. That's a fantastic score from Jared Salmon.
For the Crusaders, number 7, Jared Salmon.
Well, it was absolutely unbelievable from the man with the moustache. What a way to mark his debut. The little chip ahead, it looked like a knock-on, but he never gave up on it, did he, Terry?
I'm not sure the moustache or the hairstyle will catch on in Super League, but Jared Salmon, he plays with his instincts. Look at this for a piece of skill. He never gives up. He never gives up. Since his introduction, he's come onto the park. He has lifted this Crusaders side. Flooding forward, taps it forward, regathers, gets a nice little kick over the top. He's still challenging, puts pressure on Sykes, gathers that ball and goes in for the try.
He's straight into the badge.
He loves it, doesn't he? He only arrived in the country yesterday. As I mentioned, Stacey Jones kept flying back and forth from New Zealand, the Tri-Nations a few years back, and doctors say that if you come straight off a plane, the jet lag hasn't kicked in, and well, it hasn't kicked in here. Samet's been brilliant. Michael Witt lining up a conversion, which will take him through the 100-point barrier for the season as well. He's got 13 today before this. He's now got 15. Well, it's a great day for Witt. Bradford at their wits' end, and this game almost at its end as well.
Crusaders have been absolutely fantastic in defence and attack in this game. They've been bossed by Michael Witt, and that man in your picture, Jared Samet, he has been absolutely exceptional.
Jared the juggler and his moustache have got the job done there. That's the killer blow. That's game, set, match as far as the Crusaders are concerned. I'm not sure if that moustache might not catch on to me. I'm not sure about it. I think you look quite
I'm actually not sure if that's a fake moustache or not.
I'm not sure about that short kickoff.
Well, 7 minutes left. Desperate times called for desperate measures, Brando. I mean, the game is
Well,
up, isn't it, really, reality.
realistically, they need the ball back, Brian.
I wasn't necessarily talking about the decision to go for a short kickoff, the execution of it.
Well, this has been a day when Bradford will just want to consign to the dustbin of history. Double quick knock on by Thackeray. Bradford to get the ball back, but this game is effectively over. The Crusaders, who came here as 14-point underdogs, lead by 19. 19 to nothing. What a day for Brian Noble and his team.
Let's give some credit to Lincoln Withers. His defensive efforts in this game, getting off the line, putting pressure on the Bradford forwards, not letting them lay the platform.
Yeah, terrific performances from the Crusaders. While they have done almost everything right, Bradford have done almost everything wrong, haven't they?
And sometimes you look for excuses when a team that, like Bradford, you think is going to come here and get the result as they make the mistake. Let's credit the Crusaders.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really all-round top-class performance. They got that opening try when Gareth Thomas made the break and Witt scored, and have dominated ever since. The two injuries.
When you review this game, Rod, and you look back, did you ever feel the Crusaders were under threat? You know, they're playing against a quality side here in Bradford, but you didn't really feel they were under threat in this game.
Apart from the first 5 minutes when they broke twice, and that was probably the only time in this game that they've really looked in trouble.
And since then, they have looked comfortable in this game.
Absolutely, yeah, as Terry rightly says, the first sort of 5 to 10 minutes, Bradford had a bit of pressure, didn't they? But from the moment Witt scored the opening try in 23 minutes, there hasn't been a sniff that Bradford were going to get back into this game, and it's just been a question of not who, but how many ever since, and the answer at the moment is 19 to nothing in favour of the Crusaders.
Well, Crusaders in the first half had a 20-minute spell where they put Bradford under all kinds of pressure, and since then, Bradford have not recovered.
Jamie Thackeray rampaging down the right, offload by Mellors, well, fumble by Thomas. I think the pass initially from Mellors might have been forward, but they can afford to put on a few party pieces now and try and entertain the crowd. They know they've got the game in the bag.
Well, they're 19 points in front. There's no way they're going to lose this game.
You can do it like 19-0 up, can't you? You can have a bit of
play with a bit of flair, play with a bit of style, try and score some more points. They're not going to lose this game now.
Right, Michael, close, mate. Turn back on. Out.
19-0 will be the Crusaders' 5th win of this Super League season, and it will be their biggest win of the season if they can score again, because they beat Salford 36-16 when Vince Mellors got that hat-trick, so a 20-point winning margin. Get another try on the board,
and again
it'll be their best success in Super League history as far as the new-look Crusaders are concerned.
Well, a hierarchy. Look at them getting off the line. There's still a lot of sting in these tackles from Crusaders.
Yeah, they're really relishing it, Terry, aren't they, with the ball and without it, both sides of the football. Sykes' kick, well, it bounces, it ricochets around. Who's got hold of the football? Bradford have got it back. It's still the last tackle, though, says Richard Silverwood. Sykes still has the football.
But again, poor execution from Bradford with that kick.
Well, they're struggling to even get a kick away here. Finally, Carney gets his hands on the ball. It goes behind Nick Youngquist, who's been struggling with an injury for most of this second half. He could be trapped in goal here with this knock, but he's managed to get it away to Tchaikovsky, who's got all the experience in the world, and dances away from the post and a couple of Bradford defenders to get back in the field of play.
Brett Carney done well to get that kick away, but again, the urgency from Bradford. They were caught in the in-goal area, but no pressure really from Bradford. Should have got Tchaikovsky, drove him back over, forced the goal line dropout.
Hold! Go!
And this is going to be a warning to all the big favourites today and tomorrow. The likes of Warrington and Leeds Rhinos today that there are no gimmies in Super League anymore. There's no 2 points guaranteed. Bradford started favourites but have been well beaten here by the Crusaders and Brian Noble. One tackle left. They've played a very conservative game plan here inside their own 20, but who can blame them? Well, now there's the offloads. Now what can they produce here? Thackeray with his socks rolled down round his ankles, driving the ball forward to within 20 metres of the halfway line. Last tackle, says Richard Silverwood. Withers at dummy half. The ball will go into the hands of the main man, Michael Witt. He'll just get the ball straight down the middle. He'll look to split Sharif and Carney. Arrives at Ricky Sharif. It's a tired-looking Ricky Sharif. A glance at the scoreboard clock will show that Bradford have got 2 minutes 40 left in this game to salvage something and salvage some pride from their proceedings.
It's a tired-looking Bradford side. Warrants has been a big plus for them since he's come on. He's run strongly, defended strong.
And the loss of Orford as well, let's stress that, to a shoulder problem, left the fray in the second half. Be interesting to see what the diagnosis is from the Bulls medical team either today or tomorrow or next week, how serious that injury could be to their main man. That will be the big story that comes out of this game.
Be interesting to hear Steve McNamara post-game here. Can he take any positives out of this at all?
Well, what he could have done had Sharif gathered that.
No, I mean, even if they had scored there, Rod, I think... Oh, here we go.
Here goes Samet again. He's got men inside him. A little kick once more towards Withers. Oh, it didn't bounce kindly for Lincoln Withers, who produced a lung-bursting run to get on the end of Samet's break. Samet having a wow of a game, having just come off an aeroplane to play in this game.
The skill, the confidence going through Crusaders' side. They are a real threat in this Super League.
I'll tell you what, he's going to be a real cult figure in the competition, isn't he, Jared Samet? Just for the way he looks with the hair and the moustache and the way he's playing the game with all the flair and flamboyance. It's what everybody loves to see.
How much confidence will they get from this result? Say that if they get after this game today, they'll be only 2 points off the top 8.
Can they make the top 8?
Well, if they keep on picking up a couple of wins, they can, Rod.
Well, that would be one of the most remarkable stories in the history of Super League if this team that was put together at the last minute makes the top 8. It really would.
I'll say it again. Judge this team on their off-the-field efforts. That is a quality group of players they've got together here. As this season goes on, they have more and more time together. The big test for Crusaders is going to be off the field.
Well, they've got an average gate of almost 7,000, Brown, which is a pretty good base to work from, isn't it?
Well, yeah, well, they're 4,000 last week, I believe.
Yeah. Obviously, it's come down from the opening night against Leeds. But
Well,
I tell you what, this is going to put a few on the gate the next home game, isn't
well,
it?
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I say judge them on the off-field.
Okay. Ball in. Turn back on.
Jared Samet's hairstyle was a little bit more fashionable than some of those
Surrender.
gentlemen over in the crowd.
Was that a man?
I'm not sure, Terry.
Never.
Well, this game is in its final 40 seconds as the Crusaders look to put a little bit of a icing on the cake here, maybe a fourth try. 19-0's good enough, though, isn't it, as far as they're concerned? 15 points from Michael Witt by 2 tries, 3 goals and a drop goal, and that brilliant try from Jared Samet, the final try that we've seen so far. It's been a sensational effort from the Welshman. Araki is dancing around down this near touchline.
Move! Oh, lads, wait!
And Bradford will be the first team to fail to score a point at the Magic Weekend. The first team to be nilled at the Magic Weekend. It's going to be the lowest scoring game in the history of the Magic Weekend. But the Crusaders won't be bothered about those records. They're worried about picking up 2 competition points via an absolutely superb display. Masterminded by Brian Noble and delivered on the pitch by his players. Michael Witt, the star of the show, with 15 points, 2 tries, 3 goals and a drop goal. Jared Samet with his wonderful try as well. And the Crusaders have won this game by 19 points to 0. It's going to be a win that'll put them within a couple of points of the playoff places as well. It's their 5th win of the season. Gareth Thomas had a great day, set up that first try for Michael Witt. At Bradford, it'll be a day that they will want to forget. First team to be nilled at Millennium Magic. It's the end of their 6-game unbeaten streak. Now let's get the word with the man of the match, who really was here, there and everywhere. It's Lincoln Withers. He's talking to Bill Arthur. Bill.
Lincoln Withers, congratulations on another man of the match performance. To 0, the Bradford Bulls, a side flying at the moment. That's another big step for the Crusaders, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great for us. We're probably getting better each week, and last week we stepped back and nobody was talking about it, and today was about a response for ourselves, and so that we have got some good talent here, and if we can play like a team, we can win some games.
apart from the first 10 minutes when the Bulls really came out strong, you were just about in control of that game, weren't you?
Yeah, it was about just enthusiasm and just talking and getting a response from each other. I think we did that second half, and keeping nil is great for the team and great for Nobby for John Sharp's.
Man of the match performance, Lincoln. A bottle of champagne, £100 for charity as well. Where would you like that to go?
To Wrexham Children's Hospital again. They're a good charity. So.
Thanks a lot. Well done. It's not bad to get off a plane, is it? Into the training session, into the action. What do you make of Jared's?
Special. They said he was something special, and he showed today that he'll fit into our team great. So it's going to be exciting to have him.
Jared Samet, welcome to Edinburgh. Can you quite work out where you are after the journey you've had?
To be honest, I just got on the plane, had a few dilemmas. As soon as you get off the plane, straight to training, and then back on the bus. So haven't really had time to, get my bearings and have a good snooze. But I think I'll sleep well tonight.
Well, you must have enjoyed that, just to get out on the pitch after 24 hours in Bangkok, back on the plane, to be running around in Edinburgh and scoring a try.
Yeah, it's good to get back on the paddock. I don't think I played a game of footy for about 7 months. So it feels good to be back on the field and running around. But definitely good to, first game, get a win and get a meat pie. So it's gonna settle well on the bus trip back home.
Well, enjoy the sleep when you get some.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks.
Well, I think Rod said in commentary he's the Jack Sparrow of the Super League, Jared Samet, and he was very quick to kiss the badge, wasn't he, when he went over for his try. But what a performance from the Crusaders. They've beaten the Bradford Bulls by 19 points to 0. Witt with a couple of tries, Samet, and Witt with some important kicking as well. An excellent display, Steve-O, from the Crusaders.
Certainly was. Only opportunity in the second half for the Bulls was when the ball was dislodged away from Menzies, and Brett Kearney, well, it could have been given, but video referee turned it down. But this is a touch of magic, isn't it? Juggler, Jared, look at that. That's exceptional. And then the kick over the top. Boy, what a way to start your career in this country. Great effort, fully deserved.
It's a fantastic win for the Crusaders, and what does it mean as far as the table is concerned? Well, Bradford, their run has suddenly come to a halt, and Hull have a tremendous opportunity of overtaking them now and claiming 5th spot later on. The Crusaders are up to 10th, and they're banging on the door, aren't they? First of all, of the champions, and secondly, of the top 8 itself. Wonderful win, and let's not forget that Brian Noble, of course, has... well, he's plotted the downfall of his former club, hasn't he? Now, look, let's take nothing away from the Crusaders, Phil, but Bradford were appalling.
Well, yeah, I think we have to give some credit to the Crusaders. I mean, they've managed to get up for this event more than their opposition today. Bradford did look lethargic, and probably the easiest way to sum that up was the fact that they missed the kick to touch. They kicked the ball sometimes, it was caught easily by their opponents in the in-goal area. They never really applied any pressure. But generally, over the 80-minute period, if there was an enthusiasm score chart, then the Crusaders have probably won by 40-0, never mind 19-0. They really did out-enthuse their opponents. And fundamentally, when it came down to it, that was the difference between the two teams.
They really out-enthused them from the moment they came out of the dressing room, because, I mean, Bradford looked lethargic the moment they stepped foot on the Murrayfield pitch. I don't know exactly what's happened to the Bradford Bulls. I'm sure that Steve McNamara at this moment will be launching the inquiry. Bradford's great run of recent weeks has come to an end. The Crusaders have got the Magic Weekend off to a winning start for them. Coming next, it's Hull against Harlequins. That's match 2 of the Magic Weekend.